Shaquille O'Neal, known worldwide simply as Shaq, had always been a man who commanded attention. At over 7 feet tall, with a booming laugh and an unmistakable presence, he rarely went unnoticed. But there were moments in his life, as he liked to remind people, when even his towering fame and fortune couldn't shield him from certain biases. This story begins on an ordinary Tuesday morning when Shaq decided to step into a luxury car dealership in the heart of Los Angeles, a decision that would soon become anything but ordinary. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Shaq had always been a fan of cars. His collection included everything from customized trucks to sleek sports cars, each modified to accommodate his massive frame. Yet, despite owning a garage that could rival a museum, he always kept an eye out for new additions. He'd recently heard about a luxury brand's newest model, a car designed with both speed and opulence in mind. So dressed in a simple hoodie, jeans, and sneakers, he made his way to the dealership to see the car in person. As soon as Shaq stepped through the glass doors, the buzz of the dealership quieted. Heads turned briefly before returning to their tasks. The salesman at the front desk gave a polite smile but didn't stand to greet him. Shaq didn't mind. He wasn't looking for special treatment. All he wanted was to check out the car and have a genuine conversation about its features. But as he approached the vehicle in question, he noticed a younger salesman leaning against a nearby counter, scrolling on his phone. The man glanced up, took a quick look at Shaq, and smirked before returning his attention to the screen. "Excuse me," Shaq said in his deep, friendly voice. "Can I take a look inside this one?" The salesman didn't bother to look up. "That one starts at $500,000, he said dismissively. Shaq raised an eyebrow. "I know. That's why I'm here." The salesman sighed theatrically and finally set his phone down. "Listen, buddy," he said, stepping forward with an exaggerated grin that didn't reach his eyes. "This isn't a rental lot. Cars like this aren't for, casual browsers." Shaq chuckled softly, though the remark stung. "And what makes you think I'm just browsing?" The man crossed his arms and tilted his head as if sizing Shaq up. "Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but we get a lot of people who want to sit in the fancy cars, take some pictures, and dream. That's fine, but I've got real clients coming in today, so—" Before the salesman could finish his sentence, a more seasoned employee appeared, clearly sensing tension. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, looking between Shaq and the young salesman. "No problem at all," Shaq replied, his tone light but his eyes sharp. "Just asking some questions about this car." The older employee smiled warmly and extended a hand. "I'd be happy to help you, sir. My name's Karen. What's yours?" "Shaquille," he said, shaking her hand gently. Recognition flickered in her eyes, but she remained professional. "Pleasure to meet you." Karen began explaining the car's features, answering Shaq's questions with genuine enthusiasm. Meanwhile, the younger salesman hovered nearby, still wearing his smirk, occasionally interjecting with sarcastic comments. "The maintenance on a car like this isn't cheap," he said at one point. "Might want to keep that in mind." Karen shot him a warning glance, but Shaq just smiled, masking his irritation. He'd experienced moments like this before, moments when people underestimated him based on appearances, even after years in the spotlight. After about 20 minutes of discussing the car, Shaq thanked Karen and asked for a few moments alone to think it over. He wandered around the showroom, observing other vehicles and occasionally catching snippets of conversation. What he overheard only solidified his resolve. The younger salesman was chatting with another employee, his voice loud enough to carry. "Guy probably walked in here thinking he could test drive a Lambo for fun. Happens all the time. I mean, did you see his sneakers? Bet he doesn't even know what a down payment is." The other employee chuckled awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable but unwilling to challenge him. Shaq took a deep breath and decided it was time to address the situation. But instead of confronting the salesman directly, he excused himself and stepped outside to make a phone call. It was a short call, lasting less than 5 minutes, but when he returned, he wore a knowing smile. "Karen," he said, approaching the more experienced employee, "I'd like to buy the car." Karen beamed. "That's wonderful! Let's go over the details in my office." As they walked past the younger salesman, Shaq paused. "Oh, and by the way," he said, turning to him, "you might want to work on your customer service skills. You never know who you're talking to." The man flushed but didn't respond, muttering something under his breath as Shaq disappeared into the office. The transaction was smooth, and within an hour, Shaq was the proud owner of the luxury car he'd come to see. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks earlier, Shaq had been in negotiations to acquire a controlling stake in the very dealership chain where this incident took place. It was a strategic investment, one of many in his impressive business portfolio. That Tuesday morning, just before stepping into the showroom, he had signed the final papers making him the official owner. The younger salesman had no idea that the man he'd dismissed was now his boss. A week later, Shaq returned to the dealership, this time dressed in a tailored suit that made him look every bit the successful businessman he was. The staff greeted him with deference, though it was clear many still didn't recognize him. Karen, however, smiled knowingly when she saw him. "Welcome back, Mr. O'Neal," she said warmly. "Thank you, Karen," he replied. "Can you gather the staff in the conference room? I'd like to have a quick meeting." The employees filed into the room, chatting among themselves and speculating about the purpose of the meeting. The younger salesman sat toward the back, scrolling on his phone until Shaq entered and took his place at the front of the room. "Good afternoon, everyone," Shaq began, his voice commanding attention. "Some of you may know me, but for those who don't, I'm Shaquille O'Neal. I'm also the new owner of this dealership." The room fell silent. The younger salesman's face turned a deep shade of red as realization dawned on him. Shaq continued, his tone measured but firm. "I believe in treating people with respect, whether they're buying a car or just asking questions. Everyone who walks through those doors deserves to be treated like they belong here. That's how you build trust, loyalty, and a successful business." He paused, letting his words sink in before turning his attention to the young salesman. "Some of you already understand this. People like Karen here. She took the time to answer my questions and treat me like a valued customer, even when she didn't know who I was. Others, however, need to do better." The young man squirmed in his seat but said nothing. "I'm not here to call anyone out," Shaq said, though his gaze lingered on the salesman for a moment. "I'm here to make this dealership the best it can be. That starts with how we treat people. If you can't get on board with that, this might not be the place for you." The meeting ended shortly after, and as the employees filed out, Karen approached Shaq. "Thank you," she said softly, "for recognizing the effort I put in." "You earned it," Shaq replied with a smile, "and I'll make sure people like you are rewarded." As for the younger salesman, he kept his head down for the rest of the day. He eventually apologized to Shaq, though it was clear he was more embarrassed than remorseful. Shaq accepted the apology, but made a mental note to keep an eye on him. The dealership thrived under Shaq's ownership, becoming known not just for its luxury cars, but for its exceptional customer service. Shaq made regular visits, often surprising customers by personally greeting them or helping them choose a vehicle. His presence became a testament to the idea that success isn't just about wealth or fame, it's about treating people right. And while the young salesman eventually moved on, the lesson he learned that day stayed with him. Never underestimate someone based on appearances, because you never know who might own the keys to your future. Shaquille O'Neal's acquisition of the luxury car dealership became the talk of the industry within weeks. The story spread like wildfire, fueled by whispers from employees, excited customers, and a few strategically timed social media posts from Shaq himself. But what truly set this venture apart was how Shaq took ownership to a level that not many corporate bosses ever did. He didn't just purchase a business, he immersed himself in its daily operations, setting a new standard for leadership and customer experience. The program wasn't your average corporate seminar. Shaq brought in experts from diverse industries, hospitality leaders from five-star hotels, personal branding coaches, and even motivational speakers to teach his team the art of treating customers with respect and attention. He didn't want his employees to merely sell cars. He wanted them to build relationships. One of Shaq's core philosophies, as he told his team during one of the sessions, was that the most valuable thing you can sell isn't the car, it's trust. He explained that a luxury car dealership should feel like a sanctuary, a place where every customer could expect the highest level of care, regardless of their appearance, background, or the size of their bank account. To drive this point home, Shaq instituted what he called the golden treatment policy. Under this new rule, every customer had to be greeted within the first 10 seconds of entering the dealership. Employees were trained to ask open-ended questions and listen actively. ensuring that the experience felt more like a dialogue than a sales pitch. No one was to make assumptions based on a customer's attire, vehicle preference, or perceived financial status. The golden treatment policy was non-negotiable, and it quickly became the backbone of the dealership's reputation. In addition to reimagining customer service, Shaq also put his unique stamp on the dealership's physical space. He believed that the environment should mirror the excellence of the cars it housed. To that end, he invested heavily in renovating the showroom. The sleek, modern design featured floor-to-ceiling windows that bathed the space in natural light, accentuating the glossy finishes of the luxury cars on display. Plush seating areas were added, complete with complimentary refreshments, and even a dedicated coffee bar staffed by professional baristas. Shaq also introduced a VIP lounge for customers who purchased vehicles. It was an exclusive area where buyers could relax, enjoy gourmet snacks, and watch the final stages of their car's preparation through a glass partition that overlooked the service bay. The lounge became a talking point among customers, with many calling it a five-star experience for car buying. To top it all off, Shaq personally curated a playlist of his favorite songs to play softly in the background. Ranging from smooth jazz to old-school R&B, the music added a personal touch that customers loved. "This isn't just a place to buy a car," Shaq said during a media interview. "It's a place where people should feel special, like they're part of something bigger." But perhaps the most groundbreaking change Shaq introduced was his emphasis on community engagement. He was adamant that the dealership shouldn't exist in a bubble. It had to give back to the people who supported it. To that end, Shaq launched several initiatives aimed at fostering a deeper connection with the local community. One of his most notable efforts was the Dream Drive program. Through this initiative, the dealership partnered with local charities to provide free cars to deserving individuals and families in need. Recipients ranged from single parents working multiple jobs to community leaders who had gone above and beyond to help others. Each giveaway was a surprise, with Shaq often personally handing over the keys. Videos of these moments went viral, not just for the emotional reactions, but for the way they showcased Shaq's genuine love for making a difference. "Buying a car is a big deal for most people," Shaq explained in an interview. "But for some, it's not just a big deal, it's life-changing. I want this dealership to be about more than just profit. I want it to stand for something." The Dream Drive program wasn't the only way Shaq gave back. He also established scholarships for local high school students interested in pursuing careers in automotive technology and engineering. The dealership hosted monthly workshops for young people, offering hands-on experience with the latest car technologies and providing mentorship opportunities with the dealership staff. In his quest to build a truly inclusive business, Shaq also prioritized creating a diverse and supportive workplace. He hired people from all walks of life, ensuring that the team reflected the community it served. This commitment extended to providing growth opportunities for employees, from advanced training programs to leadership development courses. Shaq wanted everyone who worked at the dealership to feel like they had a future there. As word spread about the changes Shaq was making, the dealership saw a surge in traffic. Customers came not just to buy cars, but to experience the atmosphere and possibly catch a glimpse of Shaq himself. True to form, he didn't shy away from interacting with visitors. Whether he was posing for selfies, chatting with customers about their favorite vehicles, or even playfully challenging them to a game of free throws at the basketball hoop he'd had installed in the back lot, Shaq's presence was magnetic. But Shaq didn't limit his involvement to the showroom. He made it a point to learn every aspect of the business, spending time in the service department, finance office, and even the detail shop. He wanted to understand the challenges his employees faced and find ways to improve their work environment. His hands-on approach earned him the respect of the entire team, from entry-level workers to senior managers. One particular moment stood out as a testament to Shaq's character. One of the service technicians, a man named Luis, had been struggling to balance work and caring for his sick mother. When Shaq learned about his situation, he didn't hesitate to step in. Not only did he arrange for flexible hours for Luis, but he also covered the cost of his mother's medical bills. "I don't see myself as just the boss," Shaq said when asked about the gesture. "We're all in this together. If I can help someone, I will." Under Shaq's leadership, the dealership's revenue soared. But beyond the financial success, What truly set it apart was its reputation as a business that valued people above all else. Customers raved about their experiences, employees felt empowered, and the community viewed the dealership as a beacon of generosity and inclusion. Despite his busy schedule, Shaq continued to be a regular presence at the dealership. He loved surprising people, whether it was a customer who had no idea he was the owner or a young fan who couldn't believe they were meeting their basketball hero. These interactions weren't just good PR, they were a reflection of who Shaq was at his core, a man who understood the power of connection. One of the most memorable moments came when a young boy named Jordan walked into the dealership with his mother. Jordan was a huge basketball fan and recognized Shaq instantly. Overcome with excitement, he ran up to him, clutching a worn basketball in his tiny hands. "Mr. Shaq, can you sign my ball?" he asked, his eyes wide with awe. "Of course, buddy," Shaq replied, crouching down to the boy's level. After signing the ball, he spent the next 10 minutes chatting with Jordan about his favorite teams and players. Before they left, Shaq gave the boy a custom jersey and invited him and his family to a Lakers game as his guests. Moments like these became the hallmark of Shaq's ownership, reinforcing his belief that success was about more than just numbers. It was about the lives you touched along the way. As the years went by, Shaq's dealership became a model for what a business could achieve when led with heart and vision. Other dealership owners reached out to him for advice, hoping to replicate his success. Shaq gladly shared his strategies, often emphasizing that the key wasn't in the policies or the renovations, but in the way people were treated. "You can have the nicest cars, the fanciest showroom, and the biggest budget," he said during a keynote speech at an industry conference. "But if you don't treat people right, none of that matters." In the end, Shaq's journey as a dealership owner wasn't just about proving a point to the young salesman who had underestimated him. It was about creating a legacy that went beyond his fame as an athlete and celebrity. It was about showing the world that true greatness lies in how you lift others up. And while the younger salesman eventually faded into the background, likely telling a version of the story that painted him in a better light, those who experienced Shaq's leadership firsthand never forgot the lessons he taught. For them, the dealership wasn't just a place to buy cars. It was a reminder that kindness, respect, and vision could transform not just businesses, but lives. Shaquille O'Neal's tenure as the owner of the luxury car dealership had become more than just a story of a famous athlete turned businessman. It became a blueprint for how businesses, regardless of their industry, could thrive by prioritizing people and community over sheer profits. As Shaq expanded his vision, the dealership grew in ways that not even he had initially imagined. One of the most significant changes Shaq made was the introduction of a personalized car buying experience program. Recognizing that many customers hesitated to step into luxury dealerships due to intimidation or lack of familiarity with the process, he created what he called the concierge experience. Customers could now schedule appointments where an assigned sales consultant would meet them in a more relaxed setting, sometimes even at their home or office, to discuss their needs. The consultant would then curate a personalized selection of vehicles based on the customer's preferences and bring the cars to them for a test drive. The program was an instant hit. Busy professionals loved the convenience, while first-time buyers appreciated the individualized attention. Shaq's unique marketing strategy for the concierge experience included a series of commercials featuring himself personally delivering cars to people's driveways with his signature humor. In one ad, he arrived at a suburban home in a bright yellow sports car, barely fitting into the driver's seat, as the customer's kids screamed in delight. The tagline? "Luxury delivered, Shaq-sized." To keep up with the growing demand for personalized service, Shaq invested in a fleet of mobile service vans equipped with advanced tools and technology. These vans, emblazoned with the dealership's logo and Shaq's image, provided on-site maintenance and repairs for customers who couldn't or didn't want to visit the dealership. From oil changes to detailing, customers could book these services online, further enhancing the convenience that had become the dealership's hallmark. Shaq also implemented a robust digital strategy to keep the dealership on the cutting edge of technology. He partnered with top developers to create an innovative app that offered a seamless car buying experience. Through the app, users could browse inventory, customize their dream car with an interactive 3D tool, and even apply for financing, all from their smartphones. The app also included a feature called Ask Shaq, where customers could watch short, personalized video clips of Shaq explaining car features or answering frequently asked questions in his signature playful style. The app's success marked yet another turning point for the dealership, as it began attracting younger buyers who valued technology and convenience. Social media became an integral part of the dealership's branding, with Shaq regularly engaging with followers by posting behind-the-scenes videos, sharing customer success stories, and hosting live Quanda sessions. His larger-than-life personality made him a natural at connecting with people online, and his social media presence helped the dealership gain a loyal following beyond the local community. Meanwhile, Shaq's commitment to community engagement only deepened. The Dream Drive program, which provided free cars to deserving individuals, expanded into a nationwide initiative. Shaq partnered with local dealerships across the country, leveraging his influence to encourage others in the industry to participate. Stories of veterans, single mothers, and first responders receiving cars flooded social media, each one amplifying the message that Shaq's dealership wasn't just about luxury, it was about making a difference. One particularly moving story involved a teacher named Mrs. Simmons, who had spent decades working in underfunded schools and commuting over 2 hours each day in an aging, unreliable car. When Shaq learned about her story from one of her students, he knew he had to act. In a surprise event organized at her school, Shaq personally handed her the keys to a brand new car, surrounded by cheering students and faculty. Mrs. Simmons broke down in tears, and the moment was captured in a video that quickly went viral, reinforcing the dealership's reputation as a force for good. Beyond the charity initiatives, Shaq also invested in creating a unique learning environment within the dealership. He launched the Shaq's Garage Academy, a program aimed at young people interested in the automotive industry. The academy offered internships, technical training, and even scholarships for students pursuing degrees in automotive engineering, business management, or marketing. The academy wasn't just about teaching technical skills, it was about mentorship. Shaq frequently visited the classes, sharing stories from his life and offering advice about perseverance, hard work, and maintaining a positive attitude. He often reminded the students, "I didn't get where I am just because I'm big. I got here because I listened, I learned, and I worked hard, and you can too." These efforts paid off in more ways than one. Many of the Academy's graduates went on to work at the dealership, bringing fresh perspectives and skills that further enriched the business. Some even started their own businesses, crediting Shaq's mentorship as a pivotal factor in their success. Meanwhile, the dealership itself continued to innovate, particularly in the realm of sustainability. Shaq was deeply aware of the growing demand for electric vehicles and the importance of reducing the environmental impact of the automotive industry. He worked with manufacturers to secure a wide range of electric and hybrid models, making them a prominent feature of the dealership's inventory. Shaq also spearheaded the installation of state-of-the-art electric vehicle charging stations in the dealership's parking lot, complete with solar panels to power them. To encourage customers to adopt greener options, he introduced incentives like discounts on maintenance packages for electric vehicles and even free charging for the first year of ownership. The dealership became a hub for EV enthusiasts, further cementing its reputation as a forward-thinking business. Shaq's green initiatives didn't stop there. He invested in sustainable materials for the showroom's renovations, installed energy-efficient lighting, and even created a rooftop garden that not only reduced the building's energy consumption but also provided fresh produce for the staff cafeteria. The dealership's transformation into an eco-friendly operation earned it numerous awards and accolades, including recognition from environmental organizations. As the dealership's success continued to grow, Shaq began to explore ways to share his model with others in the industry. He started hosting annual conferences for dealership owners, where he shared his insights and experiences. These events, dubbed Shaq's Playbook for Success, attracted industry leaders from across the country. Topics ranged from customer service excellence to community engagement, and Shaq's charismatic delivery made each session both entertaining and inspiring. One of the most anticipated moments at these conferences was always Shaq's keynote speech. He had a knack for blending humor with wisdom, sharing anecdotes from his own life that resonated deeply with the audience. Whether he was recounting the time he was underestimated by a salesman, or explaining how his mother's lessons about kindness shaped his leadership style, His words left a lasting impact. Shaq also used the conferences as an opportunity to showcase innovative ideas and technologies. He invited speakers from outside the automotive industry, tech pioneers, marketing gurus, and even psychologists to provide fresh perspectives. Attendees often left with not only practical tips, but a renewed sense of purpose and inspiration. Back at the dealership, Shaq never lost sight of the personal connections that had become its cornerstone. He made it a point to remember regular customers by name, surprising them with small gestures like handwritten notes or invitations to exclusive events. He even started a tradition called Shaq Saturdays, where he would spend an entire day at the dealership interacting with customers, signing autographs, and even manning the grill during the complimentary barbecue he hosted for visitors. Shaq Saturdays became a community staple, drawing crowds of families, car enthusiasts, and fans eager to meet the man himself. The event was more than just a marketing tool. It was a celebration of the values that defined the dealership: inclusivity, generosity, and fun. As time went on, Shaq's impact extended far beyond the dealership itself. His leadership inspired countless other businesses to rethink their approach, proving that profitability and compassion could go hand in hand. Articles and documentaries were made about his innovative approach, and he was frequently invited to speak at events about his vision for what business could achieve when it prioritized people over profits. For Shaq, though, the true measure of success wasn't the awards or recognition. It was the smiles on customers' faces, the gratitude of employees who felt valued, and the knowledge that he was making a difference in people's lives. The dealership wasn't just a business to him. It was a reflection of his belief in the power of kindness, hard work, and vision. In the years that followed, the dealership became a legacy, not just for Shaq's name, but for the values he championed. It stood as a testament to what could happen when someone refused to settle for the status quo, instead striving to create something extraordinary. And while Shaq continued to explore new ventures and challenges, the dealership remained one of his proudest achievements. A place where anyone, regardless of who they were or where they came from, could feel like they belonged. Because, as Shaq often said, the greatest thing you can do in life is to leave people better than you found them. And that's exactly what he did. Shaquille O'Neal's journey with the dealership took another transformative turn as he began exploring the untapped potential of storytelling as a core component of his brand. Shaq understood that the heart of his success wasn't just the cars or the services, it was the narratives that surrounded them. Whether it was a single mother gifted a car through the Dream Drive program, or a teenager finding inspiration in Shaq's mentorship at his garage academy, these stories resonated deeply with people. He decided to amplify them on a larger scale. One of Shaq's most ambitious initiatives was the creation of a digital media division within the dealership, aptly named Drive Stories. This new branch was dedicated to documenting and sharing the human experiences that made his business so special. Filmmakers, writers, and digital creators were hired to produce high-quality content that showcased customer journeys, behind-the-scenes efforts, and community impact projects. Every story was authentic, designed to highlight the emotions and connections behind the vehicles. To take this idea further, Shaq also collaborated with major streaming platforms to produce a docuseries titled More Than a Dealership. The series, hosted by Shaq himself, explored not only the stories of the customers and employees, but also the philosophy behind his leadership. Each episode focused on a different theme, from community engagement to sustainability, offering audiences a deeper understanding of what set Shaq's dealership apart. The docuseries became a hit, inspiring other business owners and earning accolades for its innovative approach to blending commerce with storytelling. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Shaq being mistreated at the dealership? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.